Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and welcome back to Telechazzy, and today I'm going to be reviewing something that I finished watching recently and actually I think is really, it's going viral all over the damn world. You know, it's gone international, everybody has heard about this, and if you haven't seen it, you know what it is, you know, and if you have seen it, well, you understand why it's such a big deal. You know, this series really took over the world. Before I get into it though, let me explain a little bit of what's going on right now. You guys might notice that there's a little bit of a light here on my glasses. You know, it's because I'm trying to use this light source that I have to illuminate my face, because today the lighting outside isn't really very favorable. You know, it's a little overcast, and you know, I'm trying to give myself better lighting here in the video. I'm not too sure if this is going to become a full-time thing. It's usually just because usually I try to work with natural lighting here, and the reason that I don't want to use this is because of this, you know, on my glasses. So I might have to, in the whole video, talk like this, you know, trying to keep a level eye here so it doesn't really reflect. But let's just see what happens. If it looks good, maybe I'll use it definitively. If not, well, meh, oh well. But anyway, so today I'm going to be talking about the ever popular, the beloved Squid Game, you know, the South Korean like survival thriller kind of series, you know, that deals with people playing children's games, but when they get eliminated, they lose their lives. And in South Korea, it is called Ojing-eo. You know, I honestly think I pronounced that very well, you know, Ojing-eo, because I'm very fluent in the Asian languages and whatnot, you know. Actually, I'm not, I suck, but you know, because I love Asian culture, I try to always, you know, just like become the, Anyway, let's get into the actual series, huh? Like I said, it is about a group of 456 people, you know, that are taken into a game, you know, because all of them, it's a lot of people, and every single one of them are indebted in some way. They are financially in debt, you know, they don't have a lot of money to pay their debts, you know, whether it's loan sharks or banks or other shady people, you know, friends, family. The point is that all of these people owe money to someone or somewhere, you know, someplace, and they are trying to kind of recuperate their losses by playing this game because they were promised easy riches, you know. And it is true, you know, they do say that if you participate in the games, you do get a certain sum of money. However, they are not told that when you're eliminated in the games, you actually die, you know. They on the surface, they look like innocent children's games, you know, but if you lose, you literally get shot in the head, you know, or you die in whichever and however the games kill you, you know. There are a total of 6 different games, you know, and honestly, man, each one gets worse and worse, you know. It gets more and more pulse pounding. It's dramatic as hell, and honestly, this is one of the best series I've ever seen in my entire life, whether it be Asian, Western, or otherwise, you know. It's one of the best shows I have ever seen, bar none, and honestly, I mean, there is nothing wrong with it. It's really perfect, you know. It follows the regular Korean. In case you guys aren't familiar with doramas or Korean dramas, Korean television series, they usually follow a standard formula where they have just one season with 16 episodes. It doesn't seem like a lot, but each one is about an hour long or so, you know, give or take like 10 minutes or so, you know. Some of them, I've seen K-dramas where like the final episode, the season finale is like an hour and 30 minutes, you know. It's one episode, but it's practically a freaking movie, you know. A lot happens. For some reason, they are obsessed with cramming as much information as they can into one episode, you know. So this one was similar. Each episode was very long, close to an hour, you know. One was 32 minutes. Didn't make any sense at all. So a total of 9 episodes, you know, and each one of them followed this formula. And I honestly think it was amazing. I think it was just awesome, you know. And yeah, man. Before I get into it, let me see if I can insert a clip here, because usually Korean series are harder, you know, but because it's promoted by Netflix, maybe I can insert something here, so let's see. So basically, the way the game works is that every player who dies adds 100 million won to the prize box, you know, a literal giant glass orb on the ceiling where all the players, you know, sleep, where every time somebody dies, they physically see the money being added, you know. And in the end, calculating everybody who's participating in the game, there is a grand total of 45.6 billion won in cash prize, you know. So theoretically, everybody except one player is supposed to die, and that one person will take the winnings. games, you know? So it's simple math, 100 million won per person, 456 players, and it turns into 45.6 billion, you know, which is a lot of money. I do believe that the total, you know, in US currency is like 32 million or something, or 32, or is it 32 billion? No, I think it's $32 million, you know, when you convert, because the won isn't really worth that much, you know. So like 100,000 won isn't really a lot for South Koreans, you know. I think it might be similar to $100 in the United States or something, I don't know. But the point is that we actually have a cast of main characters. You know, everybody, like, there are some characters who are supporting, recurring, but others really are the main cast, the ones who always appear, you know. And the what we consider to be the actual main character is the one who's player 456, you know, the most recent edition. Now, even though I do know some of the characters' names, you know, I'm going to read their full names here so I don't butcher them, because it's Korean. I don't want to take any risks, you know. So the main character is Song Jung-hoon, you know, who is a chauffeur who's down on his luck. He owes money to people and he wants to be with his daughter, you know, gain custody, but unfortunately she lives with his ex-wife and his new stepdad, you know, and they're going to be moving to the United States because of the stepdad's job, you know. So the point is, he needs a lot of money, you know, so that's one of the reasons why he gets interested in entering the game. We also have Cho Sung-woo, who's a childhood friend of Gi-hun, you know, and there's a lot of crazy dynamics there between these two, you know. They actually end up being the ones who face each other in the final of the games, you know, and he's actually kind of like that district's prodigal son, you know, because he went to a good college, graduated, has a good degree, you know, is a respected businessman, but unfortunately he has a lot of shady practices, you know. He's not exactly an honest fellow. That's why he needs the money so he can pay his own losses as well, you know. He owes a lot of people. Then we have Hwang Jung-woo, who is a police officer who actually sneaks into the game to try to find his missing brother, and really crazy the twist with this one here. It's amazing, you know. Then we have Kang Sang-byuk, you know, who is actually from North Korea. She's a defector, you know, and she kind of wants to she needs the money to pay a broker to get her family across the border, you know, because he actually she's taking care of her little brother who's in an orphanage, but she needs the money to buy a house for her family, you know. So everybody has their sob story. Everybody has their reasons for entering the game, you know. But like, honestly, like, I think that the main reason is just for the money. Even if you don't need the money, 45 billion won is, I mean, even if you're rich, man, adding a little bit of that on top definitely wouldn't hurt, am I right? So then we also have Jang Dak-soo, who's kind of like the main antagonist. He's a thug who's he also does owe money to loan sharks. He's a really violent fellow. He's pretty much a sadistic serial killer. He kills a lot of people in there, you know, and you know, he has a lot of gambling debt, so he wants to settle that with the money. He has a lot of minions that do his bidding and whatnot, you know. Then we have Han Min-yu, who's like a really annoying, loud, manipulative woman who infiltrates the series, you know, to try to. She's pretty much like desperate to forge alliances so she doesn't get killed too early, you know. But she's really, really manipulative. It's really hard to trust her, you know. There's actually this really interesting video that I saw some time ago talking about her character development, how she's actually really misunderstood. It's pretty interesting, but it didn't really convince me too much, but it could be a good compliment to this video here. And apparently she's even though her motivations and her background are never fully explained, you can kind of imagine that she's a con woman of sorts, you know. And also she apparently boasts that she was charged for fraud 5 times, but she could just be lying to make herself look tougher, I don't know. But there are a few recurring characters. There is Abdul Ali, who's a migrant worker from Pakistan. You know, he makes friends with some of the players in there. He's actually a really kind-hearted fellow, but unfortunately he gets tricked, you know, down the road by his old pal Sung-woo. There are a few other players as well. There's player number 1, who's played by an old man. You know, I'm gonna get to him later. I forgot his name. Let me see if I can find him here. Blah 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 blah. Where's the old man? Where is the old man? Okay, it doesn't say his name, so no, it has to say his name. Oh, here we go. Oh Il-nam, you know, he's actually an elderly man with a brain tumor who's actually, he just wants to play to feel a little bit more emotion, you know, like captured the magic from his childhood, you know. But we later find out that he's not all innocent, you know. So, but before we do all of that, I'm going to talk about now, after showing another short little trailer, if I can, I'm going to talk about the actual games themselves, which, oh boy, this is going to be fun.
지금 이 자리에 계신 여러분들은 모두 감당할 수 없는 빚을 지고 삶의 벼랑 끝에 서 계신 분들입니다.
right from the get-go, in the very first episode, they play the first game. They're already drafted, into the game, and they start playing it, which is red light, green light, which, like I said, all of them are based on old children's games. So basically, all you have to do is walk forward when you hear green light and stop when you say red light. Pretty simple and instant enough, right? Except if you're still moving, there's a giant doll who oversees you. She's the one who turns around and counts, then looks back to see who's still moving. If the doll sees you moving, you get shot with a sniper rifle. And this right here is it's like, even though it's the first episode, it's kind of like already a pivotal moment there, because everybody starts seeing the first two players get shot. So that's when they realize the danger they're in. And right off the bat, hundreds of players are slaughtered, already eliminated right off the bat, because they start panicking and running for the doors, and because they're in the red light section, the doll sees them moving, and all of the sniper rifles kill them off one by one, multiples at once. And it's really weird to see the bodies dropping. The series starts in such a crazy manner that it's amazing, as morbid as it is to say, because nobody really understands how much danger they're in yet. It takes a few minutes of random killing and shootings for everybody to realize that all they have to do is make it to the other side. So after panicking a lot, everybody kind of like they understand what they have to do, so they start slowly playing the game, because there is a time limit. I think it's 5 or 6 minutes, that they have to get to the other side. So they keep going, slowly and slowly, waiting for the signal. But then a few other people start to get picked off when the doll says red light. The main characters obviously make it all the way across, and they keep going slowly. Some of them use strategies to hide behind others, which is pretty interesting, even though it's a risk, because if the person in front of you moves and they are going to move unexpectedly, maybe the bullet is going to go through them and hit you. It's a risk, but it is a pretty smart move. Then the characters make it to the end with Ali actually helping Gi-hun. He kind of saves his life there at the last minute by preventing him from moving. They do all make it, and we see a lot of players being eliminated right off the bat. That's when everybody goes hysterical in the room, and they beg for them to stop the game, even though that's when the prize money is dangled in front of them to see all of the people who died. So a lot of them do change their minds, but it is put to a vote, and the majority votes to go home, to stop the games, because if the majority of the players do vote against it, then the games will stop. And it comes down to Il-nam, the old guy, who votes to, okay, you know what? Maybe calling him old guy is a little harsh. Let me just call him by his name, Il-nam. It's a force of habit that I have, by calling people that way. So, okay, Il-nam, he votes to end the game. For some reason, I don't really know why he wants to end it, because later we find out that, he's the mastermind behind it all. Okay, so, minor spoiler aside, he's I don't really understand why, but anyway, everybody goes home. The second episode is just filler with everybody at home trying to contemplate what they're gonna do. In the third episode, they do go back though. A lot of the players come back. I do believe it was 187 who eventually come back, or something of the sort, or maybe over 200. I don't know, but a good decent chunk of the players do come back, and they play the second game, which is called Pop Guy, I think it is, where basically the guards have taken the way that the game works, guys. I don't know if I explained it, but the players they all wear green tracksuits, with their numbers, their corresponding numbers, the order that they joined in, and all of the guards wear pink tracksuits, to differentiate them, and they have different black masks with different shapes, that are squares, triangles, and circles, which represent workers, officers, what else, officials, something like that, they are divided up into, I think, officers, workers, and security. I don't know. There's something that they're divided against. I don't really know. Maybe just random personnel, security. But anyway, so that's how they differentiate them. And in the second game, the guards give them pots of melted sugar, which have formed into like cookie dough or mix or something, or like bread dough. I don't know. But basically, it's a sweet thing. And they choose the shapes that they're going to take, right? The shapes that they choose, they are given these little dough thingies, that have the shapes inside of them, and they have to carve them out with a needle without breaking it, because if they do, they get eliminated, which involves a shot to the face. This right here, the entire series is really brutal. There's a lot of violence, but I honestly think this right here is the most gut-wrenching one, because the guards are sadistic. They don't have any remorse at all. If somebody fails, they shoot them in the face, and that's it. Like, you see people crying, looking up, begging for their lives, and they still get shot anyway. It's freaking it's just insane, dude. But anyway, a good chunk of players are eliminated here. There's the triangle, there's the square, the umbrella, which is the hardest, and also what was it? Oh, a star. There was also a star. The umbrella is the hardest, and a few people fail, you know, but the main character, you know, Gi-hoon, he actually figures out that if you lick the back of the dough, it actually kind of get the moisture loosens up the shape and it can just pop right out. So people see him doing this and they imitate him, you know, and they're able to get it out. The other woman whose name I forgot, the freaking con woman, whatever, Min-Yu, she actually uses her lighter discreetly without getting caught, you know, to actually to use the needle to light it up and make it and carve the shape out a little easier with the fire, you know. When she succeeds, you know, she actually gives it to Daksu for some reason. I don't know. They actually do have a little thing. They go to the bathroom and have sex, you know, but apparently it's meaningless, you know. I do think they form an alliance and start dating for a while. She calls him babe, but he's just like a douche. He doesn't really care. He does abandon her later, so she helps him, you know. They form an alliance, a little gang of sorts, and they are actually, after this, they are given very little rations to eat, you know. They have very little to eat. They're given a really small portion. Then eventually some of them cut line to get more of the rations. Now I do believe this is between the second and third games, and then at one point there is a brawl at night where they kind of, the guards let them fight amongst each other, and a lot of them, the stronger players kill the weaker ones, you know. It's a really brutal brawl in the light with the lights flickering in the dark, you know, and a lot of other players are eliminated, you know. This was a strategic move by the guards, you know, to eliminate more players. And then later at some point, I don't know if it's before or after, but at some point they get to the third game, which is tug of war. And it might seem a little innocent, but it's actually really scary because the team that loses, you know, the flag, the teams that fall over the edge, the rope is cut with the guillotine and they all fall to their deaths, you know. It's really brutal. And of course the main characters win, you know, because Il-nam gives them a strategy, you know. He tells them that they have to just plant their feet, you know. They stand on either side, you know, on the right and left as a unit, and they all push together, you know. They reach backwards and lean back, you know, so they can have more balance. So a really good strategy that Il-nam imposes, you know, which does help them win. Eventually the other team starts to gain the upper hand, but then Sung-woo has the brilliant idea of moving up a few steps, you know, which they do. They almost fall off the edge, but this throws the other team off balance and they can actually pull them back down, you know, and they win the tug of war, which was amazing, honestly. And these first three games were an insane test of wits, you know, and like they were just amazing. I was really excited to see what the next games are going to be. Everything was really cool. There was a lot of how can I say, hype, you know. I was really excited to see what the next games were going to be, you know, and they did not disappoint. And of course they gradually got worse and worse. However, the next game, the fourth one, I do believe was the worst one because, oh my god. This one was just, I'm pretty sure everybody can agree with me when I say that it was the most unexpected one out of the bunch. So in the second game, the remaining players, they are allowed to pair off, you know. They choose one other player to play with them, like a tag team kind of thing, you know. So close friends choose close friends, you know, the alliances they formed, you know. There are some automatic pairs, you know, like a husband and a wife going together, you know. Daksu chooses one of his goons, you know, and Gi-hoon chooses Il-nam, you know, the old man. So we kind of think, okay, they're choosing teams based on you know, the friendships they formed, you know, the alliances. There is a certain level of trust, and then they are all given, each one is given a bag of 10 marbles, you know, and then it is assumed that they're going to do something related to marbles, you know, but they're ready, you know. Sang-woo chooses Ali, they form an alliance, and they trust each other to get through it, you know. They're going to get through it no matter what. And then we find out that it's actually versus. The pairs who were chosen, you know, they're actually going to play against each other, you know, and trying to take their marbles. So the first player to take all 10 marbles of the other player wins. The other one loses. I nearly cried at this scene, you know. Before the game even started, I almost cried, man, because I mean, we knew that out of all the pairs there, one wasn't gonna make it. Between Sang-woo and Ali, one wasn't gonna make it. The husband and the wife, one wasn't gonna make it. Sai-byuk, if I butcher her name, I'm sorry, you know, the girl there, I'm pretty sure it's Sai-byuk. Yeah, Sai-byuk, you know, she chose Ji-young, who was a girl who was sentenced to prison for killing her abusive father, you know. They formed a little friendship there. And then also we have Gi-hoon with Il-nam, but then again, there was really no suspense what was gonna happen there, you know. We knew Gi-hoon was gonna win, so Il-nam was kind of fated to die. And they do start playing, you know, each one with their different marble games. But the thing about this episode here, and this game in particular, what stood out the most, and I think everybody can agree with me, is just the way that Sang-woo was just brutal and heartless in his execution, you know, because he actually tricks Ali, who you could argue is just way too gullible for his own good. He has such a heart of gold and wants to help his friend that he didn't see what was going on, you know, and at first, not even I did. I couldn't really expect what was going to happen. He is about to win. Sang-woo has one marble left, you know, and he begs him to try again. He begs Ali, you know, he goes really crazy. And then he starts to convince him that there actually is a way for both of them to make it, because if they can survive with all of their marbles, they're going to face the other players who remained as well. There is a little bit of a manipulative side there, you know, but then comes the sleight of hand where he starts to tear off it, takes off his jacket and tear off his clothes to make like a little pouch or something for Ali. But when Ali looks in the other direction, we see a little sleight of hand there. You know, Sang-cho does something that's not immediately obvious, you know. I think he kind of hides the pouch or something. You know, he gives Ali, you know, like a little makeshift pouch, you know, to put his marbles in, and he does move the bag so we hear the marbles in there. So then Ali goes out to kind of scout the place out to see how many players have the marbles, you know, while Sang-woo is doing something else that we can't see. As it goes on, you know, some players are eliminated right off the bat. Dak-soo does win. Between the husband and wife, the husband wins, you know, and obviously Il-nam is the one who's eliminated because he starts to have dementia, you know. It seems that he's starting to lose memory, so he is tricked by Gi-hoon, you know, who keeps telling him that he was guessing wrong. They're playing a game where you have to guess even or odd, and he keeps telling him the wrong answer so he can take all his marbles, you know. And then eventually Gi-hoon does win, but then it shows that Il-nam actually knows what's going on. He says, well, you just tricked me, you know, even though I'm your ganabru, your friend or something, you know. He cries and hugs the old guy, and then that's when he walks away and we hear the gunshot, you know. It is presumed that Il-nam dies. He is eliminated from the game. And then between the two girls, Se-byuk and Gi-hoon, she explains that she has nothing to live for outside, so she just throws the game, you know. She lets her, the other girl throws her marble further. She just like barely tosses her so she could win, you know. And this is the first hint of emotion we see from Se-byuk, because she starts crying, which like honestly is so outside of her character that it's actually really hard to process, you know. So yeah, it's really impressive. And then we see the heart-wrenching truth that Sang-woo tricked Ali. He actually took all of his marbles. He has 20 marbles. He gives them to the guard, you know. And then as Ali finally starts to look for Sang-woo, he catches on when he opens his little pouch that was given to him, and there are only rocks in there, you know. He was tricked by one of his closest friends, you know. And then he calls him out, Sang-woo, and like we see Sang-woo stopping, you know, to hear him, and Ali finally realizing what's going on. The camera pans around and we see the guard with the gun, and all we hear is the gunshot before Sang-woo walks through the door. That was so gut-wrenching, dude. That was like the saddest moment in the entire series, honestly. Just, God, I'm gonna try not to cry here, but it's a really tear-jerking moment, man. You need to have a heart of stone if you don't cry here, you know. And honestly, I dedicated such a big chunk just to this part here because it's freaking crazy, man. Before I get to the, my God, holy freaking crap. So let's move on to the next game, huh? Whew. Okay, so the next game, the penultimate last game, right? All of the players, the remaining players, they have to choose a few numbers that are in front of them, you know, to see in what order they're going to play the next one. And a lot of them immediately rush to the middle, you know, stay in the middle of the herd. This is also where we, by the way, are introduced to the VIPs, you know. A lot of different foreigners, mostly Americans and Europeans based on their English, you know. They come to watch the next game. And it's actually really crazy because I mean the main character Gi-hoon, he is stuck between picking the first and last number. He almost chooses the first, you know, but then this other guy whose pride is crushed, he wants to go first for once in his life and make the decision, so he allows it. Then Gi-hoon takes the very last one, which is 16 if I'm not mistaken. There are 16 players left, and then they go into this glass platform where there are a series of, I believe, 18 different platforms on each side, left and right, that are made of two different kinds of glass, which is regular glass, which will shatter very easily if you step on it, and another one is tempered glass, which will hold your weight if you jump on top of it. So it is literally Russian roulette. It's a guessing game of 50-50, you know, where the players have to jump on each one to see if it's gonna break or not, you know. So it's really crazy. They're like, the guy who picked the first position definitely regretted it, you know. And this is where we see the herd mentality. If you are one of the first players, it's a huge risk because, you know, Anybody who jumps forward is gonna have to guess which one is the right glass, you know, so they might die very easily. If you're in the middle, it's somewhat of an advantage, you know, if everybody in front of you guesses right. But if you're in the back, I mean, you're kind of safe, you know. However, the problem is that there's a time limit. I forgot how much. I do believe it's 20 minutes or 30. I don't think it's 30. I think it's like, I think they gave them 20 minutes or so, because 10 minutes seems like a little time. But there is a flexible time limit. And if you're in the back of the herd, you know, you can actually get eliminated just from the time running out. So the players one by one, they go, they guess, you know, some of them, they succeed, they fail. They do get pretty far. This is where Dak-soo is killed by Mi-yoon, you know, Mi-Niu, I don't know how to say her name, I'm sorry. You know, where she says, she said once that if he betrayed her, he would die. And she grabs him and throws both of them off. You know, she commits suicide to kill the guy, which is awesome. I was really rooting for this bastard to die for so long, you know. A few other things happened. You know, he was provoking everybody. He didn't want to... He made like a bottleneck because he didn't want to keep going, because he didn't want to die for anybody. So when he dies, eventually we find out that there is a glass maker, you know, this old man who worked as a glass manufacturer at a company for many years. So he, the entire time, was able to identify which was the regular glass and which was the tempered, you know. He kept the knowledge to himself, you know, so because everybody there was killing them, you would kill to get ahead. So I guess he was kind of waiting for everybody to die so they would be eliminated faster. The verdict is, I don't know what you think about his intentions, but I think whatever, you know, it was actually really good twist at the end, and he actually got them really far, but there was just one last glass tile, glass platform. But then the game makers, they completely turned the lights off to give them a more unfair advantage. You know, they made it more interesting. So then he was given a marble to throw, but he couldn't tell from the sound. So then Sang-woo, he decided for him. He pushed him forward into the final glass panel, which broke. So he knew the other one was the tempered glass. So he and the other teammates, you know, jumped on them. At this point, there were only 3 players left, which was Sang-woo, Gi-hoon, and Sang-byuk. You know, they were the only 3 remaining players left, and they are given a very scrumptious feast, you know, to celebrate, and because they're going to be playing the final game now. Unfortunately, one of the glass, because the game exploded all of the glass tiles behind them, so she was impaled with the glass piece of glass, which she didn't tell anyone else, so she was really hurt. And well, they're given the feast, they eat, you know, and they are allowed to keep steak knives with them, you know, back into the room. So it is implied that they're going to need them to defend themselves. So I'm expecting like a battle royale between all 3 of them, you know. Really, really amazing, really awesome, and honestly, one of the most tension-induced games in the entire series, you know. However, it's the next few series of events leading up until the final game that really hammer home just how dark and visceral this show really is. Now, leading up until the final game, all 3 participants, the remaining players, they are sent back to their room, and there are only 3 beds now, which is a pretty fun Easter egg, because we can see now that on the walls there were painted all of the games from before, you know, so the hints were hiding there all along for the players to see. We can see the little drawings of depicting what the games were, you know, so like the answers were there all along, but I don't think anybody would really pay attention because the beds were always stacked up so freaking crazily, you know. But now at night, that's when Gi-hoon goes to talk to Sang-byuk and finds out about her injuries, you know. She makes him promise that they kind of promise each other, you know, that they're going to take care of each other's families if they get out of there, you know. But then she sees that he kind of suggests taking their knives and killing Sang-woo, you know, while they have the edge. But then he sees that she's hurt and he goes to alert the guards, you know. And they do come in, the guards do come in, but with a box, you know. When one of the players dies in the game, they are put into like a coffin that's shaped like a rectangular box with a ribbon, so kind of to look like a present or something, you know. The guards come in with this box, and Sang-woo looks back, and that's when he notices that Sang-woo, while Gi-hoon was away, just those few little seconds there or minutes, he actually walked over and stabbed Se-young in the neck and killed her. So that was also like, if the Ali and Sang-woo moment was sad, this is probably the saddest one. But I nearly almost was brought to tears here because I didn't want this girl to die, you know. I really liked her a lot, not because she's an attractive Korean model, but honestly, it was really unexpected and uncalled for, but the guards just allowed it anyway. So then Sang-woo eliminated her to make it easier, you know. So then the final game was between him and Gi-hoon, and it was really crazy, you know, a really gut-wrenching moment, no doubt. But the final game was just as pulse-pounding, you know, and they actually played the stupid freaking mirror. They actually both play the titular Squid Game, you know, which at the beginning of the very first episode of the series, we are introduced to kids playing this game in the playground, you know, to illustrate that it's a very popular game in Korea with the youngsters, you know, and they literally play this exact game. The rules are a little arbitrary, they're hard to understand, but basically one of the players has to go on the defense and go around to the squid until they get into the field and try to get past the other player to get to the squid's head, you know. So then both of these men, you know, they have fire in their eyes, you know, they really want to kill one another, so they start playing the game, which eventually dissolves into a fist fight, you know, that involves, you know, slicing and stabbing and also biting, you know. It gets really, really freaking crazy. They're really going at each other. They really want to kill the other and get that prize money. But then at the end there, you know, after it starts to rain, you know, because rain has a really good, fantastic timing. The VIPs are there, you know, and it's really, really intense. And then eventually Gi-hoon does gain the upper hand. He takes the steak knife in it, and it is presumed that he stabs him, you know, in the chest or the face. Then it shows that he didn't. He actually stabbed on the ground because he couldn't bring himself to kill him. He does try to propose a truce, you know. He says, look, let's just get out of here together, you know, we don't have to do this. Unfortunately, that's not how it works, you know. Somebody does have to win. One of them has to die. Sang-woo, apparently, because he feels ashamed or dishonored, he takes a knife and actually stabs himself in the neck, you know. He commits suicide so Gi-hoon can go on to win, which he does. He takes home the 45.6 million won, you know, even though he has survivor's guilt. He really he doesn't know how to deal with it, you know. And as the series goes on, I think a year later after the events that we just saw, he's just a random regular man, you know. All of that money is in his bank account, but he doesn't really use it, you know. He's still he even asks people for money, you know. He doesn't really do much, and I guess survivor's guilt is really strong, you know. It's really freaking crazy. And up until then, this is kind of like a broad review of all of the games that we saw up until then, you know. Really crazy. I tried to sum it up as best as I can, but I'm pretty sure it was still pretty long. Now, that is basically how the series works, you know. He takes home the money, and we find out the front man congratulates him, you know, the guy who's in charge of everything. So there are a few other sub stories along the way that I'm going to try to cover now at the end, but that is essentially, basically in a broad sense, all of the games in the Squid Game. And now finally I can take a breath here and show you guys another little clip here from the series before I continue to the what I hope is the final stretch, because holy hell, this video is getting long already.
무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다입니다.
그 옛날에 어릴 때 하던 거 말이야?
Throughout the series, there are a few side stories that happen along the way. One of them is a police officer who goes by the name of, let me see if I can find it here. I couldn't memorize everyone's name. Hwang Jung-ho. He's the police officer who infiltrates, you know. He, like I said before, he disguised himself as one of the guards, you know. He tries to kind of blend in so he can find his brother who played in the game, was missing since then, whose name is Hwang In-ho. Why do they have the same first name? That's not creative. In-ho, who we later find out, it leads to a crazy investigation. He does find out a lot of information. He contacts his boss on the mainland, you know, but then he eventually gets cornered by the front man, who's the guy who's wearing a really dazzling mask and dressed in all black, you know, who's like the mastermind. He is cornered by him and his guards, and that's when he takes off his mask and we find out that that is his brother, which is a twist that I kind of predicted. I said, you know what, it's either going to be his brother who's missing or a woman. It's not going to be a man at all, a really beautiful woman, but it really turned out to be his brother. You know, I called that one there. So unfortunately, he doesn't give in, he doesn't surrender, you know, so he gets shot by his own brother, and he falls down off a cliff, and we presume he's dead, but maybe he just fell into the water. After all, he got shot in the arm. It's not like it was fatal or anything, you know, but that betrayal there, it's really crazy how the guy does all of this to look for his brother when you find out that his brother's behind it all, and he even tries to kill him, you know. It's freaking crazy. But anyway, aside from that, there is a doctor who's corrupt, who gets together with a few corrupt guards to do organ trafficking from the dead players, you know, and then in exchange for information about the game, so he gets a head up, the advantage, you know. Eventually this is found out and they all get killed. But anyway, about the actual series itself, there are a few issues outside of the games, you know, the people who need the money for debt collectors or to help their families or friends, you know, and it all comes to a close when Gi-hoon finds out that Il-nam, the old man, wasn't even dead in the first place, he never died. He was contacted by him and he goes to a building where the old man is laying in a hospital bed, practically about to die. And we find out that he's not only alive, but he was the mastermind behind the whole thing, you know. He is a rich Mongol with so much money, a magnate, that he was a little bored, so he and his friends got together to have some fun, and that's why they created these Hunger Games-esque like scenario where they recruit people who need money, put a lot of cash on the line, and they see what's gonna happen, you know. Of course, Ji-hoon is outraged, you know, he almost kind of chokes him out, but then he explains, you know, there's a lot of backstory. He kind of gets into it, how he wants to participate so he could have more of contact with his childhood, you know. It's a really big scene. I'm not going to explain too much because this video is getting too long already, but it is a rather heartfelt conversation, you know, and somebody downstairs, they tried to bet on somebody downstairs being helped by if you saw the last episode, you know what I'm talking about, you know. But they kind of bet on a man being helped when he was down on his luck down there on the ground, you know. Eventually he does die from old age, you know. He just kind of dies, he passes away. Then Gi-hoon closes his eyes and walks away as the clock chimes, you know. Then that's when he starts to change his life around. He shaves, he was a little unkempt, he dyes his hair red. I don't know why. According to the director, this is just because it was the last thing this character would do. So yeah, fun fact, it was a wig. The actor didn't actually dye his hair red, it was just a really realistic wig. He looked like an old K-pop idol or something, I don't know. He starts to help out the people that he promised, you know. Sang-book's younger brother, he takes him from the orphanage and gives him to Sang-woo's mother to take care of him, leaves a lot of money for her, you know. Unfortunately, his own mother passed away, but then he's wearing a nice little suit, he's preparing to travel, and that's when he calls the people back in the game and says that he demands an answer from them, you know, what's going on. And you know, he wants to know why they're doing this to people, and he says, look, just get on the plane, it's for your own good. So they're probably behind this, you know, and that's when he turns around and walks away. So it is presumed here that there will be a sequel, but given how South Korean doramas work, there never is a sequel. There's never more than one season. It's really rare, you know. The only show that I know that has more than one season is My Sweet Something. What was it? That one that had the girl from Sistar, I think, the K-pop band. I forgot what it's called, but there is damn it, what the hell is it called? I'm gonna just look it up later. Oh, I think it's My Roaring 20s or something, you know, where there's a bunch of girls living together, you know, in a place. That's the only show that I know that had 2 seasons, but aside from that, man. But yeah, I don't think there will be a second season, you know, but I'm gonna get to that now. Let me see if I can if there are enough clips for me to insert here, you know, before I get to the actual real final part here.
사람을 그렇게 죽여놓고
6개의 게임을 모두 이긴 분들께는 그에게 상금이 지급됩니다.
Okay, so enough talking about what actually happened. Now let's get into the actual series here. You know what I thought about it, my opinions here, so we can finally wrap this up. I thought it was amazing. There were a lot of elements of suspense and thriller. You know, there are some mysteries as well, because watching and trying to figure out what the next games are is just amazing. You know, it's really cool to follow along with the characters, as we are just as clueless as they are. You know, so there is a lot of post-pounding action. You know, there is a lot of really amazing storytelling. You know, I think that the character development here is the best that I've seen in any Korean series, and I've seen quite a lot, you know, believe me, I've reviewed them, you know, on this channel before, and some that I didn't review because I didn't really like, but this one had a lot of good character development, you know, the storytelling was just amazing, and the plot elements, the pacing was just phenomenal, you know, everything was incredibly well laid out, nothing was too rushed or too sluggish, you know, and even though the episodes are long, it's the kind of thing that, like, you know, some episodes are like 55 minutes long or even closer to an hour, you know, and you don't feel it as you're watching, you know, it seems like it goes by fast or something, you know. It's really amazing to keep track of the characters and watch it as it goes along. Soundtrack is cool. They used really good musical cues at the right moment to kind of flesh out a really a crazy feeling of claustrophobia, because you're stuck in a room with the characters, you know, and the stakes get higher and higher and everything gets more over the top. So I think that it was really cool. The casting was awesome. A few actors and actresses I had never even heard of, you know, but apparently they are very well known in Korea, you know. So and a lot of them became overnight stars, because now apparently their Instagram and their other social media, they got millions of followers overnight as the the show went on, you know. I do believe it is currently Netflix's highest grossing show ever because I think like over 140 million people watched it in the first month, you know, so it's really ranked high up there. And honestly, if I could give it a rating, I mean, come on, obviously 10 out of 10. I mean, there was no suspense where this was going, you know. It's really impossible to give this. I wish I could give it even higher, but that's the limit, you know. I don't know, 50 out of 50, 100 out of 100, 5 stars out of 5 stars, whatever the hell you want to rate it. To me, it's just maximum, you know. It's flawless, perfect, you know, amazing nuance in the storytelling elements. So to me, everything is perfect. There is nothing wrong with it at all. You know, it's a show that had balls, man. It wasn't afraid to pull any punches, you know. When it killed off a main character, it did it in tremendous style, you know. Really cool, and I really just loved it so much. Definitely would want to watch it again. I don't think there will be a second season, you know, but lately I've been watching so many videos on different channels talking about fan theories, predictions for the other season, you know, and other character developments, because this show really went big, you know. And hopefully this video of mine is gonna get some views as well, because I'm gonna post it right when the hype is still high, hopefully. So that's it, guys. I honestly think I'm gonna wrap it up here because there's really nothing else I can say, you know. Normally Asian shows and movies are really cringy with the acting. Sorry, I think I smacked my camera, but this one was really spot on. You could really feel the emotions in the performances, you know. So to me, it was just amazing, you know, in that department. And I'm gonna end it here, guys. To me, it's cool. If I could sum it up, just completely amazing. Nothing wrong with the series at all. So cool. And hopefully I was able to use some good clips here to illustrate my point, you know. Let me know in the comments below if you watched this series, knowing what you thought about it, and if you happen to like my review, give it a like and also a dislike if you didn't like it, but I think it's gonna be pretty unlikely you're gonna dislike this video unless you're a douche, of course. And yeah, if you happen to like this video, subscribe to my channel because I release videos every single day. And this was my longest review ever of anything, whether it be a movie, a series, or a game, you know. So hopefully it's gonna come out okay. Hit the notification button to know exactly what time I upload because I release videos every single day, like I just said right now, I think. Anyway, that's it, guys. I'm freaking sweating. I'm tired as hell. My bedroom, my living room is all hot and stuffy. This is Chazzy signing out for now, and as always, I will see you guys in the next video. Roll the outro screen.
애들 게임 규칙 단순해.
내가 무조건 이기게 해줄 테니까.
무슨 수로?
무슨 수를 써서든.
이러면 안 되는 거잖아. 우리끼리 이렇게 죽으면 안 되는 거잖아.
게임을 거부하는 참가자는 탈락 후 처리된다.